Welcome to our deep dive on why high earners can feel poor even when they've objectively made it. We'll unpack the psychology of scarcity, the realities of high cost of living areas, and the mental shift from endless optimization to sustainable enjoyment. Stick around for actionable steps, diagrams, and quick quizzes to test your understanding. First, let's outline what we'll cover. In this video, we'll start with the emotional experience of feeling poor despite high earnings and savings. Next, we'll ground your situation in objective metrics to calibrate expectations. Then, we'll separate lifestyle inflation hysteria from legitimate baseline needs in high cost of living environments. After that, we'll share the controversial but necessary advice. Relax. We'll close with a concrete step-by-step plan and 2 short quizzes. Now, before we dive into specifics, here's a brief disclaimer. This content is strictly educational. It does not constitute financial, legal, or tax advice. Everyone's situation is different, particularly in high cost of living regions and across tax jurisdictions. Please consult a qualified professional for personalized guidance. With that said, let's move into the hard truths about objective financial success. Let's calibrate objectively. If you have accumulated around $300,000 in net worth before age 30 while living in a high cost of living area, you are not average. You are in an elite financial position. If you are also consistently maxing your 401k, Roth IRA, and HSA, you are already leveraging the most powerful tax advantage tools available to individual investors. Add to that a 6-month emergency fund, and you have a robust safety buffer against common financial shocks. At this stage, additional aggressive saving tends to yield diminishing returns in well-being relative to intentional spending on comfort and experiences. This is the moment to pivot from seeking perfection to optimizing for sustainability. Next, let's address why you might still feel like you're barely keeping up. This mind map visualizes key sources of anxiety. Childhood scarcity can imprint hypervigilance and oversaving behaviors. High cost of living environments amplify social comparison and can make you feel perpetually behind. Media noise and doom scrolling strengthen a worst-case bias. And an ambitious identity often moves the goalposts so success never feels secure. The solutions branch emphasizes evidence-based tracking to replace vague fear with data, values-based spending to allow guilt-free comfort, automatic investing to minimize decision fatigue, and mental fitness tools, such as therapy or structured journaling, to reframe persistent scarcity narratives. Now let's confront the lifestyle inflation narrative directly. Many high earners mislabel reasonable baseline spending in high-cost regions as indulgent lifestyle inflation. In reality, rent, transportation, and basic conveniences cost more, and upgrading from an unsustainably frugal state to a stable adult baseline is not reckless. The remedy is to replace feelings with data by categorizing expenses and tracking trends. If you've already hit the big levers, maxing tax-advantaged accounts and maintaining a 6-month emergency fund, then you can permit a defined portion of income to flow towards comfort without guilt. A practical monthly rule is: save first, verify your targets are met, and then enjoy the remaining funds intentionally. Next, we'll walk through a structured plan to make this concrete. Follow a structured flow. Begin by automating contributions to 401k, Roth IRA, and HSA to guarantee you hit tax-advantaged targets. Simultaneously, auto-invest in broad market ETFs on a bi-weekly cadence to minimize timing decisions. Build and maintain a 6-month emergency fund in a high-yield savings account for liquidity and stability. Next, define a monthly guilt-free allowance, money intentionally reserved for comfort or experiences, so you can spend without second-guessing. Each quarter, conduct a values check. What spending directly improves your life, and what can be trimmed with minimal loss? Standardize bills and payments to reduce decision fatigue, and limit media noise by batching news consumption to a single, scheduled window. This system makes the right actions happen automatically while capping anxiety. Let's see if you can apply these ideas in a quick quiz. Question: if you've maxed your 401k, Roth IRA, and HSA and hold a 6-month emergency fund in a high cost of living area, which next step best aligns with sustainable financial well-being? Options: A. Increase savings rate further by cutting all dining out. B. Shift some income to a guilt-free allowance while maintaining auto-investing. C. Move emergency fund into individual stocks for higher return. D. Stop tracking spending to reduce stress. You may pause the video now to think about the answer. We will discuss the answer in the next section of the video. The correct answer is B. At this stage, sustainability and mental well-being matter. Continue automatic investing in broad market funds and create a defined, guilt-free allowance to enjoy life without undermining your long-term plan. Option A risks reinforcing anxiety and deprivation. Option C violates the liquidity and safety purpose of an emergency fund. Option D removes useful data and can create blind spots. Now let's distinguish reckless spending from guilt-free comfort. On the left, reckless spending typically occurs when core savings targets are not met, lifestyle is debt-funded, purchases are driven by status comparison, and there is little to no tracking. This often displaces essentials or safety in favor of wants. On the right, guilt-free spending only happens after core targets are met. Comforts are cash-flowed, aligned with values and actual usage, and monitored through tracking and monthly or quarterly reviews. Safety remains intact, and spending levels are proportionate to income and goals. Next, let's anchor these ideas with a simple benchmark table. This table offers reference points. A 6-month emergency fund provides buffer without needing to liquidate investments. Maxing tax-advantaged accounts leverages compounding and tax benefits, so automate contributions to ensure consistency. A guilt-free allowance between 5 and 15% of net pay is a practical range that reduces anxiety and increases satisfaction. Adjust for seasons or specific goals. Finally, adopt a weekly transaction sync and a monthly review so your decisions are based on trends rather than isolated spikes. Now, let's zoom out on investing simplicity and time horizons. A simple investment approach supports mental clarity. Use broad market ETFs and automate contributions to minimize decision fatigue. Rebalance on a schedule or threshold policy rather than reacting to news. Evaluate progress across years and decades, not days or weeks. Tax optimization should precede attempts to chase yield or time the market. The simpler the plan, the lower the anxiety, and the fewer behavioral mistakes you're likely to make. Next, another quick quiz to reinforce the mindset shift. Question: you keep increasing your savings rate beyond maxed tax-advantaged accounts, but your anxiety remains high. What does this most likely indicate? Options: A. You need more complex investments. B. You should stop saving entirely. C. The problem is psychological, not mathematical. D. Your emergency fund is too large. You may pause the video now to think about the answer. We will discuss the answer in the next section of the video. The correct answer is C. Once tax-advantaged accounts are maxed and an adequate emergency fund is in place, further increases in savings rates won't necessarily reduce anxiety. That anxiety is typically rooted in psychology, scarcity conditioning, comparison, or worst-case bias. Strengthen mental habits, rely on automation, and give yourself permission to enjoy part of your income. To cement this, let's visualize decision-making with a simple flowchart. This flowchart walks through each decision step. First, verify that core targets 401k, Roth IRA, HSA, and a 6-month emergency fund are funded. If not, prioritize essentials and funnel resources to those targets. If targets are met, determine whether the intended purchase aligns with your values and actual usage. If not, consider deferring or reducing the expense. If it does align, check whether the cost fits within your predefined guilt-free allowance. If it doesn't, schedule it for a future month. If it does, proceed and enjoy without guilt. This decision tree reinforces boundaries that protect long-term goals while enabling present-day satisfaction. Now let's lock in the main takeaways. To summarize, recognize that your position is objectively strong if you've hit the highlighted benchmarks. After meeting core targets, permit guilt-free comfort to improve day-to-day well-being. Automation is your ally in reducing decisions and anxiety. Maintain simple investing rules and let time in the market work for you. Finally, address the mental game by limiting comparisons and reframing scarcity narratives. Next, a brief overall summary and your next small step. Even with elite-level savings and net worth, peace of mind is not guaranteed. The pivot is from endless optimization to sustainable enjoyment anchored by clear guardrails. Use the Track and Relax plan. Automate tax-advantaged contributions, maintain your emergency fund, schedule auto-investing, and set a defined guilt-free allowance. Your single next step for this week is to decide and fund that allowance. Finally, here's how you can support the channel and join the conversation. Thank you for watching. If you found this helpful, please like, share, and subscribe. In the comments, tell us what your next intentional, guilt-free purchase will be and how you plan to implement the Track and Relax plan. See you in the next video.